And then we can jump to the integrated MEP rack prefabrication initiative. Again, that shot of the typical patient wing. We have a 16-foot wide corridor that runs through the center of that wing, and a lot of stuff in the ceiling of that corridor. Heating, ventilation, air conditioning ducts and control boxes, gas plumbing and sprinkler lines, and electrical and wiring trays. So a question was, how could we load all of the complexity of those systems into something that could be prefabricated, built off-site, and delivered? The approach was to divide that 16-foot wide corridor that runs through the center of this slide into a series of 8 by 20-foot racks. These racks would be built of steel unistrut off-site, and all the systems that I had mentioned before would be loaded into those racks. So here's a shot of the model of one of those racks. You see basically a steel frame and then a lot of piping and ductwork that's loaded in. And then we can go right to the photos of the shop floor. So you're looking at steel framing, all the systems that run through the middle of that steel framing, and then on the end, on the far left side of the screen, you see a smoke-tight partition that actually completes the corridor wall above ceiling and forms a smoke-tight partition between the corridor and the adjacent patient room. In this shot, 10 racks per wing, they're all pushed together as they would be in a typical wing. But when they're building them, they can be pulled apart. Because they were built as separate pieces, but then need to all be unified and connected on site, basically every system that crosses from rack to rack needed its own quick coupling device. And in this case, the approach was a 1-foot section of flexible pipe that's left loose while they're built off-site and then is connected when they are installed on-site. Here's the bolt that allows the metal rack, the frame itself, to be hung from the structural deck above. This photo you see two of the workers in the shop who are working out some of the penetrations through that smoke-tight partition. If this was built conventionally, these guys would be standing on ladders, and the tools that they're using, they'd be using those tools above their heads. So the fact that they are standing on the floor rather than standing on ladders, and that this work platform allows them to work at a much more comfortable and ergonomic position. So in a lot of projects of the last few years, we've talked about the health and well-being of the people who work in our buildings, but then with this approach, we're beginning to get into something we're really excited about. That would be the health and well-being of the people who are working on our projects as well. Then 2 racks were basically fitted per flatbed truck, and you see the rack on the left just being lifted off, the crane work to get those up to their floors. Then here, that rack being received by the guys at the appropriate floor, and then the rack being suspended from the deck. And then here, basically a shot of the patient room demising walls, which you see on the floor, and the racks above. Everything you see in this photo, with the exception of the steel structure, is a part of the prefabrication process.